Hello, everyone. We're super excited to have Fishkin from SparkToro, and he's going to be sharing about getting hired in marketing in 2020.
Excellent. All right. So now everybody can see the slides, and I've got a ton to get through. So what I want to do is first share with you the results of a survey that I ran. So it turns out when Jovian reached out to me from Arc and said like, hey, we'd love to have you talk about marketing skills and how to break into the industry, I went, gosh, I'm just one person. How am I going to represent the views of an entire field? And so instead I did one of the things that is best about being well followed in a field, which is I tweeted a survey. I created a Typeform survey and shared it. And a lot of people actually filled that out. So 503 marketing professionals over the last just few days. You can see that, in fact, there's even more responses from the last few days. And I'm going to do something at the end of this, which is I will share the Google Drive link that has all of the preliminary data in there. It's going to be collecting, the survey will be collecting even more information into next week. So you will see even more when I publish on the SparkToro blog next week all the results of the survey. But I've got the preliminary data for you here. And essentially, I think the findings are pretty fascinating, right? So this is of these 503 folks who filled out the survey so far from the web marketing world, about 66% are in-house, 34% agency and consultant. So very nice balance there. You can see that it's about slightly 60% B2B, 40% B2C on the business to business versus business consumer, right? Some solo entrepreneurs and solo consultancies as well, a few education and nonprofit. And this is about half and half managers, people managers versus individual contributors. So again, we're getting a really nice balance. Most of these folks, I think this is really good news because I don't know what everyone else here has seen, but in the last 4 months, I've seen just sort of devastation across the marketing field with tons of layoffs from agencies and consultants, tons of in-house marketing teams, tons of consultants and agencies being released by by the brands that hire them. So very frustrating. But most expect to hire marketers again in the next 12 months before July of 2021. You can see that many, in fact, nearly half of those who responded yes said that they plan on hiring more than one marketer over the next few months. And half expect to use consultants or an agency as well. So this is a group that, generally speaking, is hiring and will be recruiting consultants and help as well, which I think is no surprise, right? Because we're expecting to see some recovery, not a full economic recovery, but some recovery. And that means serving the demand that will exist. So I asked folks how these marketers got started, and self-taught with no formal education is far and away in the lead, right? 41%. Personally, I find this very refreshing. I got my start in web marketing all the way back in 2001 when I dropped out of college and started doing web design with my mom's small business marketing agency, right? It was just her as a solo practitioner. And I was building websites for her clients, and those clients started needing SEO and web marketing. And I learned the practice myself, right? Because we couldn't afford to pay our subcontractors, very frankly. So this is not unique, right? I'm not unique in this way. In fact, I'm in the most common bucket here. College and university degree is next, training by an employer with a marketing agency or certification, but a ton of self-taught folks. So if you're thinking like, can I break into the marketing field even without formal education? The answer is absolutely. All right. So I asked a lot of questions about which web marketing skills are in demand, because I think that this is some of the knowledge that will be most helpful for those of you who are seeking to break into the field and who are looking to level up your skills so that you can advance your careers and be more attractive to potential employers. So I asked what 3 skills do employers believe are essential to the marketing department and the marketers that they hire, and these are the most common answers given. Data measurement and analysis, I don't think this is a big surprise, although I was expecting it in the second or third position, not the first, to be totally honest. This is essentially at the core of how a lot of web marketing works today, which is channels produce results, right? Whether you're buying Facebook ads or Google ads, or you're doing PR, or you're doing SEO, or you're doing email marketing, or you're running more creative style campaigns, you're doing guest posting and editorials, whatever marketing you're using, whatever tactics you're using, it is crucial that you be able to measure the impact of the visitors that are being sent to your websites and to your content and to your forms, and that you're able to attribute that marketing energy and the tactics with the results that come in. So data measurement analysis top. Content that performs well in search engines. I do want to be fair in that my suspicion is that this is slightly biased by who follows me, right? Because my Twitter account and my LinkedIn account were the ones promoting this survey initially, and it was shared by a good number of other marketers on those platforms as well. But a lot of folks in the web marketing world who follow me for my previous company, not my current one, SparkToro, but my previous company, Moz, which I founded a long time ago, ran for many years, and then left a couple of years ago. But that company made SEO tools and software, SEO, organic search engine optimization, right? And that's a carryover, I think, from those days. So it's possible that this is overrepresented. SEO is slightly overrepresented. Still, 44%. Probably this is a hugely important skill. And then persuasive copy for ads, landing pages, right? Messaging. Tons of marketers write their own copy. A lot of the businesses that you might work with in the marketing world, you will not get a professional copywriter who works with you. You will have to do it yourself. I certainly do it all myself. Teaching others how and why marketing channels and tactics work and where, and then familiarity with software. I actually dug in a little bit more on that question because I thought it might be interesting to folks here. Then it goes down the list. Are you good at email? That's basically that next one, 30%. Then it drops off significantly, right? UX and UI, crafting presentations and reports, writing and understanding code. I think a lot of people think that marketing and coding have become one and the same, or that these skills are essential. They are not. Marketers and marketing departments and people who recruit them do not expect you, nor do they think it is crucially important that you have the ability to write code. I find that refreshing personally. I think that's probably a good thing. I don't think it'll hurt. I think you can certainly get some advantages, but good to see. I also then asked which tactics and channels are most important in their organization, and I asked them to rate on a scale of 0 to 4, from not important at all to essential to our business, right? Or to our clients if they were agency or consultants. And you can see these are the top averages. Analytics and reporting, which mimics the skills that folks expect marketers to have. Content marketing, which mimics, again, right, that ability to write compelling content and to rank well in search engines. SEO, brand marketing and brand strategy. I personally, if I were ranking, this would be not my number one. I think that brand makes you a winner across channels in marketing in a way that almost nothing else can. But that being said, right, it's in the number 4 position. Then conversion rate optimization and paid search marketing. So buying Google ads, buying Bing ads, right, the pay-per-click forms of advertising. And conversion rate optimization being the practice of crafting landing pages and user experiences and workflows throughout a product and a website to improve and increase the number of people who turn from visitors into email signups or email signups into paying customers. Next was social media advertising, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and social media marketing on the organic non-paid side. Fascinating in the reversal here, right? Because SEO ranked as more important by a few points than paid search, but paid social media advertising ranked more important than organic social. I think this speaks to a significant change we've seen over the last 10 years, which is essentially that Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, you name it, Snapchat, all of them have biased for brands and businesses to make their reach far less exciting on the organic side and much more paid centric. So, Next, I asked folks about what's been impactful in their careers. Like, what did they do that helped them get jobs and do well for this? And hey, the answer is folks said, I subscribe to blogs, to websites, to video series, podcasts in the marketing field to stay up to date. This was number one by a long shot. You can see, right, the next one is 3.6, and this is a 4. I believe I did ask folks for multiple answers on these, right? So everyone gave an answer from 1, not helpful, to 5, this was instrumental to my career. Receiving mentoring or tutoring from someone or several someones in the marketing field, again, very big for a lot of folks. Launched and marketed their own website. I'll be honest, I thought this one was going to be number 1. This is, for me, for a ton of the people that I know in web marketing who've had successful careers long-term, this has been a huge part of how they have built their careers. So it was a little surprising to me to see this lower down, but still. Purchased and studied marketing books or ebooks or conference videos. Conference videos are weirdly popular in the web marketing world. I think that's because a lot of conferences and events do a really extraordinary job of curating and crafting, very up-to-date, very tactical and strategic, cutting-edge stuff from their speakers, and then making that content available via purchasable video. And so I know a lot of folks who've watched videos from, whatever CTA Conf from Unbounce or MozCon from my old company Moz, or Distilled Search Love, or a lot of those other types of events. Taught marketing. This one's weird. Someone asked me on an interview the other day, they were like, hey, Rand, how do you personally stay up to date with what's going on in the web marketing world, right? How do you stay good at marketing? And my answer was, I have to teach people, right? I stand in front of a whiteboard and film videos. I'm constantly giving interviews and webinars and presentations. I am writing blog posts and teaching. I'll be honest, you cannot teach people a subject that you don't know pretty darn well. It's just impossible. And I feel guilty and nervous whenever I try and do that. And so I think this is, look, it ranks in the middle on here, but I think if you want to be great at web marketing practice in particular, email or PPC or SEO or PR, you name it, force yourself to have to teach it to someone else. You will get good, my friend. Marketing classes in person or online. This was pretty even distribution across the board. Some people found it very, very helpful. Some folks not as much. And then I asked about some tools and standards in the web marketing world. And the answers were sort of all over the place. So I've collected those into a few areas. There's for those folks who are doing market research and who are helping folks in the to better understand their audiences, which I think is like, how can you possibly do marketing well if you don't understand your audience well? The 3 tools that popped up most often are Typeform, which is what was used to perform, in fact, this survey, SurveyMonkey, popular long-time tool, and Google Forms, which is free and easy. You can, in fact, use the free version of all 3 of these and walk into any job and say you're familiar with them after using them for an hour or 2, just building your own surveys about any topic you want. Web analytics. Right, this was very standard. Google Analytics is by far not just the market leader. They're a monopoly in a way that Google Search is a monopoly. There are some more advanced analytics that folks mentioned, so things like Hotjar, Lucky Orange, Crazy Egg, which all do sorts of heat map style tracking, and they follow your mouse through JavaScript on the page and try and see where they think people's focus and eyes are going. And then Mixpanel, which records more sophisticated forms of interactions, especially behind an app. With all of these, again, you can either get a free trial or a free demo, or you can find lots of videos on YouTube of people showing off how to do things with these tools if you want to walk into an interview and be sophisticated with them. SEM and PPC, this one was super easy because pretty much everyone just said Google Ads. Again, very easy to set up a campaign, even if you don't actually put in your credit card and start running it. but you can get experience there. You can watch on YouTube and see some great training videos of folks walking through Keyword Planner and through the Google Ads tool as a whole. Display and remarketing, it was sort of mostly Google and a little bit Facebook Ad Manager as well. Again, these are both free to use and play with. In SEO tools, these three came up most often: Ahrefs, Moz, and SEMrush. You can take, I believe all of them have somewhere between free versions and free trials. So if you'd like to check those out, you can. You don't actually need to install them on a website, right? They operate in the cloud and can analyze a site remotely. So if you're walking into, an interview, you can say, oh, I ran your website through this SEO tool and found these interesting issues. All of them offer training as well. All right, how do you stand out from other candidates? Well, I have advice here. My advice starts with, if you have built your own projects, right? Go to Google Domains. It's very inexpensive. I think it's $9 or $10 to register a domain. WordPress is free to install. You can host with a variety of places. You can set up a free MailChimp account. This is a really simple thing that you could do to have your own website that you try and start attracting some traffic to, that you write a little bit for, so that folks can see, oh, you have done some work in this sector. I think this is a phenomenal way to stand out from other candidates, even if you don't have any job experience. I have seen many marketers, and I have hired personally at Moz folks who built their own projects ahead of folks who had previously worked in other businesses, because the degree to which it shows like a scrappiness and an ability to work with tools and get things done is pretty remarkable. B, if you can show success. So if you are at a job right now, or you're working in an agency, a consultancy, I would go ahead and either ask if you can request a a testimonial, right, from folks that you work with to show that you have grown traffic, grown conversion rate, grown paid search efficacy, grown your social ad budgets, return on investment, all those kinds of things. You can also do it anonymously, right? So you could screenshot and say like, hey, I can't tell you where I worked at, but I can show you some of the screenshots of like, here's a campaign I worked on previously and what we were able to achieve. And that will come up very often in interviews. If you have a friend on the inside, LinkedIn is the obvious one for this, right? So find people who are connected to people at these companies. If you can get an introduction and ask them, hey, could I just ask you a couple questions about what it's like working there and what's going on there, and what the marketing team's up to. And then when you walk in for the interview, you can say, oh yeah, I spoke to someone on your staff before I came in, and they told me a little bit about these challenges you're having. They told me a little bit about this type of culture, and that really appealed to me, and that's one of the reasons I applied here. That's hugely meaningful. All right, I also have, before we wrap up, a few unusual tactical interviewing tips. If you can, I would urge you to impress your interviewers before you arrive. This is a difficult thing to do, but so Casey Henry, Casey joined Moz. He was previously, he worked at in the criminal justice system in Michigan. As like a juvenile officer, that kind of thing, and they had a lot of problems with how the state handles policing and incarceration, which I think we are now all experiencing. But Casey basically had been building some websites on the side, reached out to Moz and pitched us on. He had been commenting on the blog for a while, and he reached out and pitched us this blog post, which was published in 2008, 9 months before he interviewed at the company, right? So we sort of, like, the few of us who worked there at the time, I think there was maybe 30, 40 people who worked at Moz. The few of us who worked there were like, oh yeah, we know that Casey Henry guy. He got published on the blog, and it did well. Like, he seems really interesting. And like, he's commented on a lot of stuff. That is impressing your interviewers before you arrive. By the time Casey came in, we knew that unless there was a red flag, we wanted to hire him. And Casey, by the way, is now my co-founder at my new company, SparkToro. I would urge you to be truly curious about the businesses that you apply to and the work that they do. And there's, if you've been in an interview process or loop, you know that there's almost always the question where folks say, "Oh, are there any questions I can answer for you?" Or, "What are you curious about?" And when that happens, depending on who you're interviewing with, I sort of have this little matrix, right? So if you're talking to founders and executives, I would ask about big picture goals. I would ask what they're excited about. I would ask what they regret. I think that's an unusual question that will get you and build some vulnerability with founders and executives. What do they think needs solving the most? What are they most worried about? Mid-level managers, I would ask about their team. I would ask about where they're seeing results and not. And I would ask what would make their job easier. And if you're interviewing with ICs, individual contributors on teams, what work do they like doing? And what do they hate? What makes their job hard? What holds them back? And what do they wish they could do that they are not doing? Weirdly enough, I find that asking these questions, being truly curious, not feigning interest, but having real interest in both the people and what the business is doing, this is a phenomenal way to distinguish yourself from competition in marketing, but very frankly, this applies across the board. I would also urge you to know the company. If you're applying at CrowdCow, right, that it is very hard, very, very hard to get a job at a company when you come into the interview and you're sort of like, "Well, I don't know a ton about you. Tell me about what you do," as opposed to, "Oh yeah, I did a lot of research and I saw this online and I read these articles about you and I read this from your blog and I read about your founders and I read about your executives and I saw that, some of your competitors," that stuff is gold, right? I used a Google News search here for Crowd, which I find to be pretty useful. Speaking of, if you really want to distinguish yourself, especially in the web marketing world, get to know their channels and their audience. This is killer stuff. So SimilarWeb is totally free. You can go to similarweb.com. You can plug in any domain, and they will show you an estimate of where their traffic is coming from, referrals, top destination sites. They'll give you a sense of like how the traffic has gone year over year. It's pretty awesome. The SimilarWeb data tends to be better when there are a few 100,000 to 1 million visitors a year or up. So on very small websites, it's difficult, but definitely doable. You can also, this is slightly self-promotional, but you can use the free version of SparkToro to analyze any website or social account's audience and see what they listen to, read, watch, pay attention to, what podcasts they're listening to, also following, all that kind of stuff. Okay, gang, I think we've got a few minutes left for Q&A, and I'm happy to dive back more into the results. I will also unscreen share. There we go. And I will give you that link for those slides. Like I said, preliminary version. So FYI, preliminary, and it will. The whole thing will be available. All the results from the survey will be available next. It'll probably be Wednesday night. So just a few days. Okay, copy link. Boom, boom, boom. And all right, should I put the chat in the event or the stage? What do we think? I'm going to go for stage. Start that.
Yes, stage is correct.
Stage is good. All right, excellent.
Awesome.
Okay, so that Google Drive sharing file will give you the slides that I just presented. It it will be with the Arial font family instead of the fancy fonts that I showed you, so that you don't have to download fonts from me in order to view correctly. All righty. Where did I get my glasses? What a great question. That's so delightful. Yeah, these are super fun. I don't know if you can see, but they've got like this sort of hard edge on the side, which I really find delightful. I got them at a place called II on Capitol Hill. just a couple blocks from the protest zone in Seattle, the Chaz Chop zone, which I used to live there. Cool. Yag, you asked, how do you do this? Can you tell me what you were referring to with the how do you do which element? My guess is, I think that was about either SimilarWeb or SparkToro. Why don't I go show you here? Let me open a new window. And I will show you what I'm talking about with SimilarWeb. Yeah, cool. I think that's this window, allow. Okay, so you're seeing my screen there. Let's go to SimilarWeb. They're a little slow today. Okay, so right at the top of SimilarWeb, right, we can plug in crowdcow.com, and you can see as I start. Oops, right. Don't click backspace while in the URL bar. That's not going to do well. But crowdcow.com, SimilarWeb will show us data that they have, right, about this website. They'll give us some data about category rank. They'll show us traffic over time. So you can see a huge spike in April and March, which I can confirm from talking to the folks over there that they did indeed see a spike. No surprise. CrowdCow, you can order sort of high quality, ethically raised rancher meats. So, steak, pork, chicken, all that kind of stuff. And no surprise, during the COVID madness of the last few months, they have seen a big uptick. You can see where their traffic comes from. You can see referrals, right? So direct versus referrals being web pages that send them traffic directly. Search, no surprise there. Social, email, display, right? So this data, and actually a whole bunch more. So one of the things that I do like looking at, the organic paid breakdown can be pretty interesting, but where do they have it? Competitors is a really nice feature, right? So if you can kind of look at what these other websites in their space are doing and then get a sense of that. Yeah, very, very cool. SimilarWeb does a lot of awesome stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Rand, for your talk today. Especially the time you spent to create the survey and like utilizing your network to gather all of these awesome insights, as well as sharing a bunch of great tools for everyone to use. Yeah, so thank you so much. And then
my pleasure. And I will. I'm available on Twitter @randfish if anyone has other questions, or rand@sparktoro.com. I love helping marketers get into the field. So thank you so much for having me and for the invitation. Wish everybody all the best.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.